A client recently approached me to see if I could help them change the hair colour of their Terra Branford figure. In this video guide, I will be showing you how I managed to turn it from this into this. To start, I'm taking off the ponytail for ease of access, and I will paint the two pieces separately. To protect the area where the hair connects to the head for now, I'm using some masking tape and applying thin strips down with tweezers. I'm also applying tape to the skin on the head. Some of the hair pieces have a gap underneath, so I was able to slide the tape underneath it. I also used some masking putty in certain areas where it was tricky to use the tape. I'm using some silicone tools to mould the putty in place, with some Vaseline on the tools to stop it from sticking. Once masked up, the first step is to prime the model with grey surface primer. I then base coated all parts with Scurvy green. Next, I'm going over it all with snake green. This will pull into the recesses and create some harsher shadows. Once that's done, I'm starting to go over areas where I think the light will hit with Jade green. I'm deliberately using a very sheer layer, so it doesn't completely cover the recesses we've just done. I'm then going over with a small amount of ghost green to brighten the lighter areas in the centre so it increases the contrast in the gradient. Once happy with the main gradients, I'm going over the individual strands with ghost green. To have the most accuracy and brush control, I'm holding my brush at an angle and using less pressure the smaller I want the line to be. You might be able to see what I mean if you pay close attention to how the bristles on the tip of the brush bend here as I'm making lines. When using the side of your brush rather than the tip, there's less room for the bristles to bend because there is more density in them as you go towards the ferrule. This process is very much a layering process. Gradually building up your streaks until you're happy with the intensity and contrast between the different strands. You want to be focusing on where you'd like the light to hit the most. Normally, the raised areas that aren't behind or beneath anything. For the underside of the ponytail, I need this to have slightly darker shadows for when it's laid flat against the back of the head. So I'm going over it with a very thinned down snake green, and continuing to layer ghost green back on top, but only on the raised strands. Once I was happy with the hair, it was then time to repaint the accessories. I started off by base coating the bow in Impish Rouge. Make sure to do this in thin layers to prevent texture from building up. I have a guide on my Patreon which shows you how to get the perfect consistency using the knuckle method. For the shadow, I'll be using my airbrush again, so I'm masking the underside off with masking tape. I'm using Xerus purple in the centre crease of the bow, making it fade out to pink towards the edges. I'm then using some Genestealer purple to soften the blend. For the gold trim and accessories, I'm base coating them using Dwarven Gold. For the centre, I'm going over it with Avalanche Sunset. I went over the left with Caliban Green, and I'm stippling over the top some Moot Green for a highlight. I'm base coating the right hand side with Corn Red, and I'm stippling some Evil Sun Scarlet on top. For the band around the back of the head, I'm base coating this in Dwarven Gold, remembering to use the side of my brush for more control. I'm base coating all the red jewels with Corn Red. For the purple jewels, I'm using Xerus purple, and for any green ones, I used Caliban Green to base coat them. For the jewels that dangle down, I'm using some Lead Belcher to base coat them. For the coloured jewels, I'm highlighting them by stippling Moot Green on the green ones, Evil Sun Scarlet for the red ones, and Genestealer Purple for the purple ones. Once I was happy with how it all looked, it was time to take the masking tape off. Where the masking tape covered certain areas, I needed to touch up around the edges. I mostly used snake green to tint it, and then added some highlights with jade green. Her eyebrows were still blonde, which wouldn't look right if they didn't match her new hair colour, so I'm very carefully painting over them with jade green. And I did a very small line in the centre with ghost green for a highlight. You can see how I'm using almost no pressure at all to make the line really small. I'm taking the masking tape off the centre of the ponytail and attempting to reattach it to see how it looks. Initially, I didn't want to paint the plastic ball, as I imagined the paint could either rub off or not stick very well at all due to the type of plastic. However, it was a very stark difference, so I covered it in matte varnish to provide some grip, and I base coated it in Scurvy green. Once that was done, I sprayed matte varnish all over to lock everything in. The final steps were just to put a gloss varnish on the gold areas, the gems, as well as the eyes and lips. And that is the project complete.